You're listening to Myers-Briggs Question Corner with Edythe Richards.
The other day, a lady at work stated confidently that her best quality is her intelligence. In fact, this lady was trained as an organizational psychologist and reportedly has a very high IQ. Now, in all fairness, I'm not privy to her daily activities and I haven't verified her IQ score, nor have I worked with her extensively. I have, however, observed her interactions with others for years. While she is able to grasp some highly technical numerical information, she struggles with applying that information logically to the task at hand in a way that others can understand. She also blurts out and barks orders at people haphazardly, completely oblivious to the effect her moods have on others working effectively. Now, my reaction says a lot about my own bias, but it also goes to show that while someone is highly skilled in one area, they may not be as skilled in other areas and may not be aware of their limitations. As soon as people learn about personality theory and personality types, there's a tendency to stereotype some types as more intelligent than others. Let me be clear here. The Myers-Briggs assessment does not measure IQ or cognitive intelligence. What it does measure is one's preference on 4 broad-based dichotomies of personality. Of course, this doesn't stop people from making assumptions or attempting to predict behavior based on type theory. What's the smartest Myers-Briggs type? It depends on what kind of smartness you're looking for. Every person, regardless of their personality type, has strengths and areas for improvement. It's up to us how we choose to show that to the world. In delving a little deeper, I'm going to cite the websites personalityjunkie.com, Quora.com, and the MBTI manual. So let's assume that when people are talking about smartness, they're talking about IQ or intelligent quotient. I'm not going to go into how flawed and unreliable I believe IQ tests are, but I'll ask my listeners to keep in mind that there are several different IQ tests, and generally speaking, what's being measured are linguistic and logical mathematical abilities, which are valued in the academic world and correlate with introversion, intuition, and thinking. What's often not being measured are artistic, aesthetic, musical, athletic, social, or emotional intelligence. It's well known that intuitive and thinking types perform better at standardized testing. This has been documented with many studies. Intuitive types are more patient with these types of tests and more quickly able to understand abstractly worded sentences, record answers based on their hunches or flashes of insight, and move on to the next question. Sensing types, on the other hand, don't trust their hunches as easily or readily. Instead, they follow each step in sequence and tend to be grounded in real data as opposed to abstract concepts. The thinking and feeling dichotomy only tells us what motivates people to learn. Thinking types prefer systematic learning, facts, and are taught the logic behind an assignment. Feeling types are attuned to a holistic approach and will learn best when they feel supported and there's a human element to their learning. Since IQ tests tend to measure logical abilities, facts, as well as how motivated people are to do well in these areas, it makes sense that thinking types will tend to score higher. Introverted types also tend to score higher because they get their energy internally and thus spend more time concentrating and focusing on how to figure things out, spending far more time than extroverted types thinking through serious issues that will help them do well on IQ tests. Any Google search on the most intelligent Myers-Briggs types will tell you that INTJs, INTPs, and INFJs will score the highest on standardized IQ tests. But does that really mean that they're the smartest Myers-Briggs types? Webster defines intelligence as the ability to learn or understand or to deal with new or trying situations. the skilled use of reason and/or the ability to apply knowledge to manipulate one's environment or to think abstractly as measured by objective criteria such as tests. So, just because we're able to solve a complex math problem doesn't make us smart. Yet society tends to associate logic with smartness. Einstein is considered a genius. Does that make him smarter than Mozart or Warren Buffett or Martin Luther King? The statistics say that INTPs have the highest IQs. So, for argument's sake, let's say that means they're the smartest. INTPs are estimated to be approximately 3% of the world population. Assuming that's 7 billion people, that makes roughly 210 million INTPs. Now, about 1 in 400 people have IQs in the genius range of 140 or over, meaning there are 18 to 19 million geniuses in the world. If all geniuses were INTP, that would still mean that roughly 85 to 90% of INTPs are not geniuses. And let's face it, all geniuses are not INTPs. Those of us who know about the Myers-Briggs type indicator also know that INTPs stereotypically are ill-fated nerds. However, nerds are often geniuses. I'd say that those INTPs who are geniuses know they are, and therein lies their problem. They are bored by action, that is, by doing something about their clever new idea. What a paradox! Coming up with an ingenious solution, but ultimately failing to deliver. How genius is that? I'm using this to illustrate that IQ is just one way to measure a very specific kind of intelligence. There are actually 9 types of intelligence according to developmental psychologist Howard Gardner, who believed that every person has a unique intelligence. I'm going to mention the 9 types of intelligence and how they correlate with Myers-Briggs types. And listeners, these are my own opinions based on my knowledge of the MBTI instrument and experience with type theory. First, visual and spatial intelligence, which is visualizing in 3 dimensions and employing mental imagery and artistic skills to bring images to life. I believe the types most likely to have this are SP types, especially ESFP, ESTP, and ISTP. Second, natural intelligence, which is recognizing flora and fauna and using this knowledge productively in farming, hunting, or science, and sensitivity to and a holistic understanding of the natural world. Types most likely to be gifted in this area are INFP and ISFP, and possibly ISTP and INTP. Third is musical intelligence, just what it sounds like, discerning pitch, tone, and rhythm. Types most likely to have this ability, which includes playing an instrument or singing or generally excelling in music, are ESFP or ISFP, as many musicians tend to be described as such, but also ESTP and ISTP. So SPs again, but especially introverted feeling types. Fourth, logical mathematical intelligence, calculating, quantifying, and carrying out mathematical operations, as well as using abstract thought, reasoning skills, and deductive thinking. Types most likely to have this ability are dominant introverted intuitives, INTJ or INFJ, or introverted thinkers, INTP and ENTP. I will also make a case for ISTJs, as they often have many of the qualities of classic high IQs that we talked about earlier. Fifth, existential intelligence, which is all about attempting to understand deep questions about our human existence and philosophy. NF types, especially INFJ, INFP, and ENFP, are most likely to have these abilities. Sixth, interpersonal intelligence, understanding and interacting effectively with others. This involves using verbal and nonverbal communication and sensitivity towards other people and seeing multiple perspectives. People who have extroverted feeling, ENFJ and ESFJ as a dominant function, as well as people who are extroverted by nature and use introverted feeling, meaning ENFP and ESFP, are likely to be skilled in this area. Seventh is body kinesthetic intelligence, essentially physical skills and using the mind-body connection to perform and manipulate objects. Definitely extroverted sensing types, ISTP, ESTP, ESFP, and ISFP. Eighth, verbal linguistic intelligence, which is using language to convey complex meanings and express oneself in words. This one is tricky because I believe all personality types can be good with words, either in writing or in speaking. Extroverted types tend to be, more than introverted types, naturally good at speaking. That is, good presentation skills, finding just the right thing to say at the right time, comfortable in interviews, while introverted types may be naturally better in writing. I think the most gifted types in this area are the NFs, ENFP, INFP, ENFJ, INFJ, and possibly ENTP, ESTP, and ESFP, as well as ISFJs. Ninth is Intrapersonal Intelligence, which is the ability to understand oneself and using that knowledge to plan and direct one's life. It's about being self-aware and self-motivated. I believe that feeling types are more likely to dispel these traits, especially INFJ, ISFJ, INFP, ISFP, ENFP, and ENFJ. To sum it up, IQ is just one way to measure intelligence, but intelligence is only what people actually perceive it to be and define as intelligence. Myers-Briggs is a reflection of the situations we most identify with or prefer, and doesn't have anything to do with intelligence per se. Let's remember that any one person, regardless of Myers-Briggs type, can be skilled in any of these areas. My conclusion: being good at a cognitive IQ test doesn't make you intelligent. It makes you good at an IQ test.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you'd like to hear more, or you'd like to submit a question yourself, then you can find us at www.atopcareer.com. Until next time. MBTI and Myers-Briggs are registered trademarks of the MBTI Trust.